Hello, this is Brian Tracy, and I just wanted to say I've had a wonderful time with Raven Blair Davis, the talk show maven. She does a wonderful interview that brings out the very best in you and that presents your product or service in such a way that everybody wants to rush to the phone or the internet to buy it. So if you're thinking of being on her show, run, don't walk, sign up today. It'll be a wonderful experience for you.
Hi, this is Bob Doyle, author and CEO of Boundless Living Incorporated and one of the featured teachers in the film and book The Secret. And you're listening to Amazing Women of Power. Don't wait to be great.
Hey, this is Dr. Richard K. with CEO Space. Be certain to check out my super dynamic interview with Raven, the talk show maven, on Amazing Women of Power. And remember to get your free gift at ceospaceamerica.com/Raven. Don't wait to be great. Do it now.
Hey, this is Alex Mondosian, and I've just participated in the Don't Wait to Be Great Radio Summit with the great Raven Blair Davis. You got to listen to her to understand how great she is. Don't wait, just be great.
This is Lynn Rose, where voice meets vision, LynnRose.com, and you're listening to Raven, the talk show maven. Don't wait to be great.
This is Dr. John DeMartini. I'm the founder of the DeMartini Institute. Probably recognize me possibly from The Secret. Raven is having a show called Don't Wait to Be Great, Do It Now on the Global Radio Summit. This is an amazing show with amazing women of power. Wow, I'll tell you right now, you've got to listen to it.
You've been listening to interview after interview of top experts and icons. How cool is that? And here's the thing. You can go out and interview these people too. I heard a great man by the name of Alex Mondosian say that the quickest way to become an expert is to interview other experts. I really tapped into that. I mean, I took that away for sure, because I wanted to get my name out there. I wanted that visibility and that credibility. And you know what? It ultimately goes to profitability. I've got somebody here. He's awesome. In fact, he's bad. His name is Jack Canfield. All right, Jack, how you doing? The crowd is going crazy, man. Can you hear them? They are going so crazy. Oh, my God. Calm down. He's going to be here in an hour. Chill out. Hey there. How are you doing, my friend?
Great to be with you again, Raven. Thank you very much for inviting me.
We always have a good time, Jam, for sure. We are talking to our audience today about don't wait to be great. Do it now. Jack, what do you feel is your version of greatness, and why should people stop putting it off, stop dotting the I's, stop crossing the T's, and just get the doggone thing done? You know what I mean?
Really, actually, I totally agree with you. Do it now is so important. My mentor, W. Clement Stone, who was worth $600 million back in 1968 when I worked for him, he always said, do it now. And I think he said it way beyond, before Nike did. He used to hand out these round wooden coins that said TUIT. And people would always say, well, I'll do it when I get around to it. And he would give them this round to it. And he said, well, now you have one. Go do it. And so the idea was you can't put stuff off. I mean, if I have any regrets in my life, and I'm sure you do too, it's because I waited too long. I wish I'd started writing books sooner. I wish I'd started running seminars sooner. I wish I'd gotten over being shy around girls sooner. And the way you get through all of those fears is by simply doing it, Mm-hmm. And once you do it, you survive the risk. When you survive a risk, you build self-confidence, and you get things done. It depends on how long it takes to write a book. It usually takes me about a year. If you write one page a day, it's 365 pages. My wife, Inga, has been putting off writing a memoir for years, and finally I got her a writing coach, and she's been writing for an hour a day.
Wow.
And now she's been doing that for 60 days. She has about 70 pages of her book done. And she could have been doing that 5 years ago. And even though she's married to a motivational speaker, I had trouble getting her to do it. But she says, God, I wish I'd started. I used to have a sign at the back of my seminars above my head that says, I wish I'd raised my hand sooner. The idea is that people keep waiting and waiting and waiting until they feel safe. Mm-hmm. And, you make yourself safe by doing the thing you're afraid of.
Absolutely. Stepping out that fear for sure, and we're going to talk about that. But, okay, so what's your prime definition for being great? Because all of our guests have had different, feelings about what great means to them.
Well, I think great is different for everybody. Great means that you're fulfilling your purpose. And I think that we all are born with a purpose, just like a rose becomes a rose and a carnation becomes a carnation and a geranium becomes a geranium. We need to fulfill the expression of who we are in life. And each of us has some internal thing that's urging to be born, that wants to be expressed. You know, you wanted to be a radio talk show host. I wanted to be a speaker and a trainer and a teacher. And so some people want to be musicians. Some people want to be, mechanics. Some people want to learn to fly a plane. Whatever it is, that if you allow yourself to do that fully, you are great. Whether you're a great parent or a great teacher, you don't have to be rich and famous to be great. You simply have to do the thing that you want to do as fully as you can do it. If you do that, then I think you are great.
I love that you say you don't have to be rich and famous to be great. Sometimes I talk about that with my host and the people in my mastermind, Jack, that it doesn't have to be big to be great. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be a speaker, start speaking in your home and have a group of people there. Get to Clubhouse. It can still be a great experience. It can be, a great event without having to wait till you have all, the thousands or hundreds of dollars that it's going to take to get in that big hotel and fill the room with a couple hundred people. Sometimes people can have just a phenomenal event with a small group of people, but they're the right people. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, my first talk that I ever got paid for was in Newington, Connecticut. I drove through a blizzard both ways to get there. It was a group of teachers after school. About 25 elementary school teachers. I got a $25 paycheck. And I remember driving home through that blizzard going, I'm a paid professional speaker. This is really cool. And now I make $35,000 a talk. But it took me 40 years. Well, it took me about 25 years to get there. I've been there for about the last 15. But the point is that you got to start where you are. Someone says, bloom where you're planted. And if you do that well, then the next thing emerges. In The Secret, I tell that story about if you're a car, you're driving your car through the night, you can only see the next couple hundred yards. But if you drive those 200 yards, you can see the next 200 yards. You could drive all the way from L.A. to San Francisco only seeing the next 200 yards. And the same is true in your life. Start where you can with what you have. And as you said, I started as a high school teacher. That was really my first paid speaking job. And I spoke to 5 classes a day of, about 35 kids in the ghetto of Chicago. And I got very comfortable doing that. Then they said, well, we want you to speak to some teachers and tell them what you're doing, because I was doing really good stuff. And I was scared, because I had not spoken to adults. It had all been kids. But I did that, and I survived. And then they said, we want you to start going around the district. And eventually I became a trainer for educators. And then one day this woman said, my husband's company needs what you do. I said, I don't work in companies. I just do education. The only job I ever had in the company was a floor sweeper at General Electric between my senior year in college and graduate school. And she said, they're just big kids in suits. Now you go over there and talk to them. So I did. And they loved it, And so it's just, you take one step at a time, and each step you take leads to the next step.
Yeah.
And there's no step too small.
Absolutely. No step too small. Now, I love that you said that, because it's so true. Each step is a part. Yeah, do you hear the crowd? They're agreeing. Because what happens is we don't embrace ourselves for every piece of the journey that we go on. And I think we need to. Like you said, no step is too small. You know what, Jack? That's a little thing, but a very big thing. Don't you agree?
I do, and it's a lot of little steps that add up to a journey. And I think that most of us, we look at someone like Tony Robbins on TV, or we look at me, or we look at you, or whatever, and then people go, well, I want to do that, but that's such a huge step from where I am now. It takes time. Every great band was once a garage band, played in bars and stuff, The Beatles played all over the place before they got discovered. And, it's just that willingness to play the music, to write the book, to write the page in your journal, to give the speech, to go out there and, take your art and put it on display, to apply for the job, to go back to school, to learn the next step. I remember I was in Chicago, as I mentioned, and I was doing some workshops for welfare recipients, people living in Cabrini Green, which is just one of the worst places on the planet at the time. And there were 5 women on welfare. They said, well, how can we have dreams? I said, well, how can you not have dreams? If you could have a dream, what would it be? They said, well, we'd like to have jobs and have our own apartment. And I said, great. What would you have to do that? Well, we'd have to have skills. Well, what skills do you think you'd need? Well, we think if we were secretaries, we could get a job. Well, how could you do that? Well, we'd have to go back to school. We'd have to learn to type. We'd learn office skills and all that. I said, is there any place around you that does that? What is this community college? Well, why aren't you going there? Because we have kids we have to take care of. Well, what they did is they created a cooperative, 5 women, and one woman would take all the other 4 people's kids all day long while the other 4 of them went to community college. And then the next day, one of the women would take the kids while some of the others went to community college. They just rotated. And they created their own kind of daycare center for their 5 kids. And within 2 years, every one of them had graduated from community college, got a job, and had moved out of Cabrini Green. So if they can do that, anybody can do anything.
I'm telling you, I love that. We can do anything. Listeners, did you hear what Jack says? There's no step that's too small. And he just shared that very inspiring, encouraging, and empowering story. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to really just make that quantum leap. And speaking of quantum leaps, I know that your book, and by the way, congratulations on your 10-year anniversary, 10th year of redoing your book, right?
What we did is we revised the book, and the book now has about 4 new chapters, has 120 new pages, so it's a little thicker than the old one, and it has a whole section on success in the digital age, how to use things like Facebook and crowdsourcing and crowdfunding, things that weren't available 10 years ago. And the other thing that's new in there is on networking. You quoted Ivan Misner saying first you have to be visibility, then credibility, then profitability.
Yeah.
Whole chapter that he wrote on networking. We have a whole chapter on leadership. But most importantly and most excitingly to me, in the first book, all the stories illustrating these then 64, now 67 principles were stories by famous people like Michael Dell and Stephen Jobs, who started Apple, and famous movie stars and so forth. Now all the stories are by people who read the first book, applied the principles, and now they're successful. So you read the book and you go, oh my God, those people are just like me. Here's a woman that was on welfare, that got off of welfare. Here's a guy that was living on Skid Row. His sister gave him a copy of my book, and now he's running his own landscaping business. So basically, wherever you are, whether you're a teenager or an adult, whether you're already making a good living or you're not doing well at all, any area of your life, there's a story in there of someone just like you who applied one of these principles in a book and totally transformed their life. That's why this book's so exciting.
Yeah, and we were talking off air, so just when you talk about reading your book and it transforming your life, I'm just going to share a clip note because I share with Philip. Do you mind me sharing just a little bit of what I told you, Jack?
Oh, please. Go ahead.
Well, just so all of you know, I met Jack, I guess it was probably 2008. At this event, and someone else was interviewing him, and I just loved him. He just has this charisma. You know what he got. Yeah, he's bad. We said that earlier. But anyway, so I bought the book, and you autographed it for me. Thank you very much. And I read it on the plane because I was in California, and I had to go back home to Houston. Here's the deal, guys. Instead of just sleeping on the plane or just sitting there, I was so excited about meeting Jack. I read his book, pretty much all of it, on the way home. And I think Houston's probably 5 or 6 hours away. But anyway, I had a good time with his book. And you know what? I marked it up. My book looked ugly, Jack. It's got highlighters and it's got dollar signs by different things you said in there. That's a book, right? That's reading the book and not letting it sit there look pretty. The cover, still looking okay. But the inside, I've got it. It's got notes in there and stuff. And I took those notes and things and guess what, Jack? I implemented what you said. Right? I took it and I put it into action and implementing. And the reason I say that is because so many people read so many good things. They go to your mentoring, they come to my mentoring, and they miss the key of implementing. So I implemented your things. And it helped me to move into action faster rather than slower. I felt like your book became kind of like my Bible for getting there because I was kind of stuck in a rut. I think I was like, maybe 57 years old back then, making about $10 to $20 an hour and not even working a lot. And I just started my interviewing career then. And I made the decision from reading your book that I was going to be the best that I can do. I was going to be famous, because I got to tell you, Jack, when I was a little kid, I told my dad to build me a stage. So I always had that I want to be famous attitude. And your book just gave me the laws, gave me the principles, and I want to thank you publicly for it.
Well, first of all, you're welcome, and I'm so happy because my goal is to inspire and empower people to live their highest vision. And so if I did that for you and I do it for others, then I go to bed sleeping really well going, hey, I am fulfilling my purpose. That's me being great.
Yeah, and you did a great job, because this book moved me from just having my couple little podcast shows to ending up being a personality on CNN and CBS. And like I told you, I started my own radio station. I'm training people all over the world to interview the icons like you, because you know what, Jack? I found out this secret. Here we go. Want to hear my secret I found out?
Sure.
That you can't interview the world-renowned leaders and experts and icons and not have a little bit of their teachings rub off on you. So I interviewed a lot of them, and I had a lot of the teachings like yours rub off on me, and I'm so thankful, Jack.
Well, let me interview you for a second, because I think one of the biggest problems people have is the fear of rejection. And you reached out to the biggest icons in the world. Mm-hmm. How did you overcome any fear of rejection to do that?
You ever heard Les Brown say, I was hungry for success?
Yeah. I know that one really well.
Yeah,
hungry.
I was hungry. I was hungry, Jack. And, you know, my mother was in the hospital. She came out the hospital. She was in a wheelchair. And I could never tap into my why being my reason and purpose. But when it was my mama, my why became big. And I knew she needed to depend on me. And I was like, okay, I got these shows. I'm interviewing these people. But, you know, how am I going to turn it into a profit? And I took money I did not have. I remember investing into Alex. Remember when Alex used to have that limo coaching? You pay for some time while he goes from wherever he's going to the airport. And he put, you remember that? He put out a special. And I remember looking at my bank account. It was the last I had. But I said, okay, I'm interviewing these experts. I've pushed past my fear of asking and rejection and stuff, but I need to figure out a profit. And I paid him for that time, you know. So, you know, I just did it. I just had to do it. There was no choice. There was no going back, and Mother needed me, and I needed to step up, show up, and grow up. Ouch! Yep. I had to do that too, Jack.
Sounds like you've talked to Mark Gaffney recently. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you talked about kind of growing up in your book. You talked about taking 100% responsibility for your life.
Yeah, and that's what you did. You know, what happens is people spend the majority of their life complaining about what doesn't work, blaming other people for why they're not getting what they want, and making excuses for why they don't produce the results they want. And when you take 100% responsibility, it means no more blaming, no more complaining, and no more excuse making, and then asking yourself, how am I creating my current life? What thoughts am I thinking? What behaviors am I doing? And what images am I holding in my mind? And what am I saying or not saying? And so basically, if you realize that you created it, you have the power to uncreate it and recreate it. Otherwise, you just go through life feeling like you're a victim. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't matter how low down you are, how much you've been abused, how poor you are, whatever, you know, it's possible to get out. For any condition you can tell me, I can give you an example of someone who crawled out of that and made a success in their life. And we know if one person can do it, anybody can do it. It's not, you know, they don't have any special talents. They just have the willingness to follow the steps.
Yeah.
And what I teach in my book, The Success Principles, is that there is a system. It's a knowing like a combination to a lock. And I use this metaphor that if you are black or white, young or old, male or female, live in Wisconsin or live in Texas, doesn't matter if you went to high school or not, if you know the combination to a lock, the lock has to open. The problem is many of us don't know the right numbers, and we don't have them in the right order. Mm. If you don't have all the numbers in the right order, no lock in the world is going to open for you. It doesn't matter how hard you work, how much you visualize or anything. So basically, if you know the right steps in the right order, success to me is doing the right things at the right time in the right way. And so basically, I've interviewed 75 of the most successful people. You've interviewed probably a lot more. And said, what has been your path to success? What are the principles you live your life by? And by studying that, I've been able to glean a pattern among successful people. This is learnable. It's teachable. Anybody can do it. I had a guy named Forrest Willett who lives up in Canada. And I was on a TV show when the first book came out in Toronto, and he heard the announcer say, "Ladies and gentlemen, after this break, come back and Jack Canfield will show you how to get from where you are to where you want to be."
Yeah.
Now, he had just been in a major automobile accident, had severe brain trauma, had to learn to talk and walk and write again. He was reading at about the 4th grade level at that point. Now, he was a successful entrepreneur, majorly in bed, totally depressed, hadn't got out of bed for weeks. His wife was about to give up on him. And he said, after he heard my interview, he said, "Get that book for me." His wife said, "You won't be able to read it." And, it's written at an adult level. And he had her read it to him until he could learn to read, hired a reading coach. It took him a year to read the book. At the end of that year, he went back to work. He wrote a book called Baseballs Don't Bounce, which is about his son and how he hadn't paid attention to him when he was injured. He's now a top motivational speaker in Canada, helping not only brain-injured people, but all kinds of people get over their fears and over their blocks. And so if someone like that can crawl out of that hole, anybody can do it.
Oh, anybody can do it. We just got to want it. And like you said, all of us have success principles that, the key to the things that have helped us push past our pain to our power, to be on purpose with a definite purpose. We just have to sometimes, well, not sometimes, Jack, stumble and fall and be okay with that, right? And, get up, brush our knees off, and stumble and fall again and keep failing forward till we figure it out.
Right.
You agree? Mm-hmm.
I would. And Brian Tracy, who I know you've interviewed, said something once that it's always stuck with me. He said, "We are try, fail, learn, 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 try, succeed machines." And it's like a kid. We're teaching our children to walk. We don't, after 2 days, say, "Well, you didn't learn it, screw it." We basically know that they're going to keep falling down, they're going to get up, they're going to fall down, they're going to get up, and eventually they stop falling down. And the same thing's true with us. We only learn when we're involved. You said, failure is not failure. It's simply a learning process. And so each of us has to know that we're going to make a lot of mistakes. I tell people everything you do is a first draft. When I wrote the first Chicken Soup for the Soul book, we rewrote each story 6 times. We got feedback from 100, well, not the first time, but we got feedback from 25 people. We get in the book and said, grade each story on a scale of 1 to 10. If it's not a 10, tell us what it would take to make it a 10. And so nothing went into that book that wasn't like a 9.5 or above. And it took us a year to take all those stories and edit them. I literally went into a hotel room in Denver, Colorado for a week and read every story slowly out loud, the last version of that, and just listening for where it didn't sound right, and I would edit it. And that's what made that book so good. And so it takes time to get good. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of anything.
I believe
10,000
that.
hours. That's about 7 years. I don't know how long you've been doing radio interviews, but I'll ask you that. How long have you been doing radio interviews?
I did my first interview from the ICU unit of the hospital in 2006 with a friend. And so it's been since 2006, yeah.
So 7 years later would have been 2013. Now you're one of the best radio interviews on the planet.
Thank
you.
And
you probably didn't start out being the best, but now you are. And it takes time, and people need to be patient with themselves. 5th graders don't look at kindergartners and think they should be 5th graders. They know they're kindergartners, and we don't make anything wrong about that. And so when we're starting out in life, learning a new career, the first time we're married, we don't have any practice at that. We have to learn how to have a relationship. So basically, it's called Start Now, Stay in the Game, Respond to Feedback, Study, Read, Listen to shows like this, keep applying what you learn, and eventually you get to where you want to go.
You know what? You say in Chapter 11, see what you want, get what you see. And before, when you asked me, what did I do? That's what, like I said, I couldn't do it for me. I could do it for Mom, and I pictured what I wanted. I wanted to be there for my mama, Jack. I wanted for her not to worry about work or anything, because I don't know if I shared this with you, but my mother was in the hospital, and I actually seen her. She had us bring her leads from the hospital because she did telemarketing, and she was on the phone, I was on the phone, and my sister was in the phone in her room when they moved her from the unit to the bed, and they had her leg was completely cut open to the bone because they had caught an infection, and she was making cold calls, Jack. trying to keep a $10 hour job. That hurt. That broke my heart.
I know, but see, look what you learned from your mother. You learned to do whatever it takes to get where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the same time, that inspired you to want to take care of her, but also it inspired you because it taught you, it modeled for you what you need to do. You know, when Chicken Soup for the Soul came out, we didn't hit a bestseller list for 14 months. You know, and everyone thinks, oh, you should hit a bestseller list in the first month or your book's no good. Well, every day, we had this thing we call the Rule of Five, which I'll share with your listeners as one of the principles. Practice the Rule of Five. Every day, do 5 specific actions that move you toward the completion of your goal. So we would call up 5 radio stations like you and say, would you interview us? We would call up 5 churches and say, could we come and be the minister on Sunday, and we'll use Chicken Soup for the Soul stories to back up scriptural principles, you know, etc. We just did 5 actions. We sent out 5 free books to people who were, you know, what we call gatekeepers, who might tell people about the book. One of the people we sent to was a producer of Touched by an Angel TV show. And she required all of her staff to read Chicken Soup for the Soul books because it's the quality of energy she wanted on that show. Variety newspaper picked that up, the Hollywood newspaper. If they wrote a story about it, that sold a lot of books. And then the EPA and the API Press Wire picked it up, and they started selling more books because of that. And all because we were doing 5 things every day. Maybe 4 of them wouldn't work. Maybe one day none of them worked. But if we keep doing it over and over and over, this law of probability says the more things you try, the more likely one of them will work. One of them will pay off. Only takes one person to get you on a radio show, and then Oprah hears that radio show, and the next thing you're on Oprah, and the next thing you know, you sold 35,000 books.
Woo-hoo!
So you just have taken those steps out there.
Yeah. By the way, you know me, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. I'm all about asking. I push past the fear of asking, as you can tell. So when you said Oprah, I know you and I know your circle, so I'm putting a plug in. If you got the hookup with Oprah, you and I got to talk. I want Oprah on my show. I want to interview Oprah. She's on my vision board in my office here. Her and the Obamas, and I'm coming after you, Oprah, for sure. And the reason I brought that up is because ask. If you don't ask, you won't GT get, and you got to ask everybody you know. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Right, Jack?
That's right. Everybody you ask, you never know who's the person that's going to be able to turn you on. And it's true. I mean, Lisa Nichols, who I'm sure you know, basically is in the movie The Secret and the book and all that. Is a good friend of mine. She co-authored Chicken Soup for the African American Soul. And she had Oprah on her vision board. And as a result of being in The Secret, you know, which she wanted to be, and wasn't in the first version of it, but then when Esther Hicks bowed out, they needed a couple people to put in the information Esther had put in the first version of it, and they asked Lisa to do it, because Lisa had been putting out that she wanted to have her own TV show. And so she was in people's mindset. And then she got on Oprah, and then she got, as a result of that, I think she's on a couple different pilots. None of them have worked out into a show yet, but now she's on the Steve Harvey show as a regular guest.
Yeah.
So it's just called keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've watched her on there. I remember Lisa talking about all she did was dream about that gold couch. Remember, Jack? And she said when she got Oprah, there wasn't no gold couch. She said, where's the gold couch at?
I know. They had to take her back to the other behind the set to show her where the couch was so she could leave.
Absolutely. Well, we got a few more minutes. So, Jack, take a sip of water, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, okay? And we'll be back with more with none other than Jack Canfield, everyone. And, you know, we're talking about how to apply his dynamic success principles so you can move into your greatness faster rather than slower. Did I say faster rather than slower? Yes, I did. You want to be able to move into your greatness faster rather than slower. And guess what? You can do it. You can absolutely do it. But you just got to believe. You have to believe. You can't let anybody tell you that you can't do it, because Jack and I are here to tell you you can. Welcome back, Jack.
I'm glad to be back.
I'm so thrilled to have you here. Absolutely, absolutely. I always enjoy you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all that you do out there in changing people's lives like mine. I mean, you know, when I think about me being at that hospital, not knowing what mom was going on, and I think about you and Cynthia Kersey and Alex Mendosian and Les Brown, you know, just how much you guys and now Lisa Sasevich have changed my life. But you know what? I know, and I give myself a pat on the back, Jack, because I know I had to do the work. So let's talk to the audience about having to do the work, because that's the hard part.
No, you do. You have to be willing to pay the price, and you have to be willing to take action. And a lot of people sit around and they dream. You know, it's an interesting statistic. Most people who buy cookbooks sit in bed and read them at night and then fantasize about the parties they're going to throw where they're going to cook those recipes, but then they never throw the party. And so reading a self-help book and not doing it is not going to get you anywhere. It's just basically a waste of time. So basically the idea is you've got to take action. And the nice thing about you and all the guests you put on, including myself, is we have roadmaps. You know, we've all taken that journey. We've succeeded. And as Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. So in the success principles, I've left a roadmap from how to get from where you are to where you want to be. It doesn't matter who you are. You know, you talked about being in a hospital with your mother and her leg. There's a story in the book by Heather O'Brien Walker. I love her name Walker because it relates to the story. She was a middle executive in a company. She was in the warehouse, and she tripped over a box that wasn't supposed to be on the floor, hit her head on the shelf on the way down, hit it again on the floor, and she hit it. And again, traumatic brain injury. And she was in love with her boyfriend. They were engaged to be married. Now she couldn't walk. She was paralyzed from the waist down. They said she'd never walk again. And the reality is her boyfriend came in and brought my book and started reading it to her chapter by chapter. When we got to the chapter on visualization, she started visualizing walking down the aisle with her husband. And to make matters worse, what happened is when she finally did get out of the hospital because it worked and she was able to walk again, 2 weeks later she was hit on the side of the car by an automobile and she had another brain injury. And she was back in the hospital. Now they said, you'll never walk. And using the same principles of visualization and affirmation and commitment and working in physical therapy. And we've all seen the movies where people are struggling to take that next step, but they keep doing it and eventually they walk. And that was Heather's story. She walked down the aisle just a few months later. And it's possible, whatever your dream is, if you're willing to do the work. There's inner work, like visualization, affirmations, changing your beliefs, turning your inner critic into an inner coach, all of which I teach in the book. But also there's the outer work. There's you going to Alex Mendosian and paying him to teach you how to be more successful, listening to Lisa Sasevich and taking workshops from her on how to be a better salesperson. All the things you need to know, somebody knows how to teach. A lot of it's free on the internet. You can go to YouTube and download people's videos. But you can learn from books, from seminars, from radio programs like this, TED Talks. It's all out there. But you got to stop watching Scandal and General Hospital. You got to start doing the work. Yeah. You know, I was giving a talk at Kaplan University as their graduation speaker, and I remember saying, you know, while everyone else was keeping up with the Kardashians, you were staying up at night keeping up with your homework. And that's really what it takes to graduate school. And it's that willingness to do the work. And, you know, there's work required. There's work to stay fit and healthy. It's no fun to get up in the morning and go running. But if you do it, you lose weight, you develop your metabolism, your immune system is stronger, you live longer. It's no fun to heal your past. But when you do it, you let go of resentment, you develop more love, your body goes from acid to alkaline. We know that you become cancer-free when you do that work. So these are the things that people have to do. And it's, you know, it's much easier to live in the comfort zone, watch television. And I remember telling you this years ago, you know, if you have a television in your bedroom, it cuts down sex by 50%. There's research on that.
Yeah.
So, you know, take the television out of the bedroom. If you're not going to make love, at least read.
Well, you know what? You're so right. You and I, we talked about that before because you told me that a long time ago. And at that time, I was married to someone. And we had a TV in the room. And can I tell you, we're no longer married. I'm making sure there's not going to be no TV in the bedroom in this marriage, Jack. Let's just put it like that.
There you go. There you go. Sounds like a good thought.
Absolutely. You know, you say that you need to pay attention because your results don't lie. Ooh.
That's right. Basically, everything you have now is the result of what you did and thought earlier. And what you're currently doing is only enough to create what you currently have. If you want something different in the future, you're going to have to think different thoughts, do different things, hold different images in your head, the visualization we talked about. And so, therefore, whatever your results are, that is what you're getting, and you are creating it. And so, that little formula I have in the book, E plus R equals O. Events in your life plus your response to those events equal the outcome. Your weight, your health, your wealth, your relationships are all the outcomes of how you responded to an earlier event. For example, let's say your husband forgets your birthday. That's an event. One response is you could think, my husband doesn't love me. Your outcome is you'll feel bad. Another response is someone who loves me forgot my birthday. The outcome is you'll feel concerned and more loving. So just by changing your thought, you change the emotional outcome. But also, we change our, financial outcome. I give you $2,000 bonus at the end of the year. That's an event. You go out and spend it on a vacation in Florida. Nice thing to do. But a year later, your net worth is what it was a year earlier. If you invest that money at $200, let's say you make 6%, that's another $12 or $100. What is it? Yeah, $12. Basically, you're now richer than you were before. And so the idea is you want to continue to do the things that make people successful. Read books on investing. I have a whole section of my book called Money and Wealth, because there are principles of success on how to invest, how to make more money, how to keep more money, how to get better deals on things. Most people never ask for a discount, for example. You can always ask for a discount. You could say, hey, this luggage set that you have right now, is that going to be on sale anytime later this year? Oh, yeah, it'll be a sale in a month. How much do you mark it down? Oh, 20%. If you mark it down 20% now, I'll buy it right today. Well, a lot of times people need to make a sale, and they'll do that. But if you don't know how to do that, that $20 you just saved, or $40 or whatever, you can now invest that into your investment account, and eventually you own stocks and bonds, real estate. That's how you get wealthy.
That's so right. They got to have those negotiating skills, right? And just, again, don't be afraid to ask, because you don't know if you can get a break in the price or anything unless you ask. I remember when I had an opportunity, I think it was at a trade show, and I had one book in my hand, one of my books, Broadcast Your Passion and Profits, and somebody walked up to me and they said, can I buy that book? And I said, yeah. You know, Jack, I didn't know that they were a producer at CNN, so they contacted me a few weeks later and said, I want to meet you for lunch. Your show is Careers from the Kitchen Table. We have a cooking show, and you would be a perfect fit for right behind that. So we had lunch, and they told me it was $750. I got excited, Jack. I thought they were going to bring me on, pay for me being on there. They said $750 a week, Jack. And, at that time, I wasn't making $750 a month, let alone a week, okay? So, something told me, hey, you come from sales, use your negotiating skills. And I was able to talk them into giving me 3 months totally free, cut the price down to $500, and I worked on phones, Jack. I mean, I made me some, not cold calls, I made me some gold calls, Jack. Picked up that receiver, and I created packages, and by the time I got on there, they let me start right away, but they gave me 3 to 4 months before I had to pay, and reduced the price to $500. I had all my slots filled for like 6 months ahead. That's how bad I worked it. So I know about negotiation, and I know about working it. Work that thing. Work it.
Well, when there's a chapter in my book called Ask, Ask, Ask. Mm-hmm. I've been using this term lately. You have to become an ask hole, where you just ask all the time. Mm-hmm. And so the reality is that one of my staff read the book, and she wanted to go on vacation in Mexico, and there was this place. It cost $10,000 a week to rent this villa on the ocean. And, if you're a rich person, you can do that. My staff get paid well, but not be able to afford that. So, anyway, she calls up the owner after reading the chapter in my book, and she says, I bet there's going to be a week where you don't have anyone renting the house. And I would be willing to offer you $2,000 for that week. And we'll leave the house pristine clean, so you don't have to pay a cleaning person to come in. And, just call me if you have a week. I have a job where I'm an editor. I can take off pretty much any time I want. It was about 4 months later, the guy calls and says, we had a cancellation, and we can't get anyone else. Be glad to get the $2,000 instead of the $10,000. She got 5 of her friends together. They all chipped in just a little under $400. They all went down there and lived in a house that cost $10,000 a week for $400 each, less than one night in a hotel room in Mexico on the ocean. So that's the kind of thing you can do if you're just willing to ask.
Yeah. Gotta ask. Jack, you talk about in your book that success and money, you say how to develop a more positive money conscious and win the spending game and give more to get more and find a way to serve. Can you really go deep on that one? Because that's really huge.
Well, basically, are you talking about find a way to serve?
Mm-hmm. Well, I love the fact you say give more to get more and find a way to serve. Mm-hmm.
Well, sure. The Bible's been telling us for centuries we should tithe, which means you take 10% of your income and you give it away to charity or to your church or any organization that supported you or you supports others. Mm-hmm. And so, I've done that for years. I mean, I've written some checks that made me freak out sometimes because I made so much that year. It's very uncomfortable to spend that much money, but you do it. And what we know is that whatever you spend out like that comes back multiplied by 10. That's a spiritual principle that's played out in my life. And so the more I give, not just in terms of money, but in terms of time, you may not have a lot of money to volunteer, but we all have time. I MC a number of different kind of fundraisers every year. I go to a number of fundraisers. I do about 3 or 4 free talks every year for nonprofit organizations, for high schools, for the Boy Scouts, whatever. And so the idea is give back, pay it forward. And when you do that, like I gave a talk free for the Heart Association here in Santa Barbara, one of the guys that heard that talk ended up hiring me to speak at his company. And so by giving away something, I got something. And, the more you go out there and participate and give, when you're giving something, it makes you feel like you're abundant. In order for me to give a time, I need to feel like I have enough time. Mm-hmm. In order for me to give money, it creates the sense to me that I'm abundant, that I can afford to do that. And you don't have to wait until you're rich. If you've only got $10, give away 10 cents, give away $1. Start now. Everyone says, well, when I'm a millionaire, I'll have money to give away. It doesn't work like that. You start now, and that's what helps you become a millionaire. And as far as find a way to serve, every one of us needs to find a way to make a difference in the lives of others. There's research that shows it'll make you live longer. When you get sick, you'll get well faster. You'll have better relationships. You'll sleep better at night. Your all the immunofactors in your blood are higher. I'll give you an example. There was a guy who actually was a super rich but not very happy. His name was Ken Behring. Ken Behring was the co-owner of the Seattle Seahawks football team. And he said his life went through 4 stages. The first stage he called stuff. When he got really rich, he bought all the stuff you could ever want. Cars and airplanes and boats and big house on the ocean, all that, and he wasn't happy. So then he called the second stage of his life better stuff, and he bought a bigger house and a bigger plane, a better boat. Still wasn't happy. Then he calls the third stage of his life better, called different stuff. That's when he bought a football team. Thinking if he owned a professional football team, I'd be really happy. He'd on the field, he'd be interviewed, he'd go into the players' room, he'd have a box, and all that. Still wasn't happy. Finally, a guy calls him up and says, I'm going to Bosnia-Herzegovina. I'm going to give away 40 wheelchairs to kids who've lost their legs to landmines. Would you like to come with me? He said, sure. They land, they're giving away wheelchairs. This one little boy grabbed his leg and wouldn't let go after he put him in a wheelchair, a little 11-year-old boy. And through tears and an interpreter, he said, please don't leave yet. I want to memorize your face. So when we meet again in heaven, I can thank you one more time. Ooh. And he said that was the first time in his life that he felt pure joy. Wow. And he called the last stage of his life purpose. And now he came back and he started the Ken Behring Wheelchair Foundation, giving away 40,000 wheelchairs, built wells in Africa because he realized wheelchairs without clean water doesn't work. And this is one of the happiest guys you'll ever meet.
My goodness. Wow, that story gave me chills. That is such an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. But it just shows what we can do. It really is. There's no excuses. Even if we don't have money, like you said, we can find ways to serve, help the neighbor get to the store that may be ill. There's so much different things that we can do. It doesn't always have to be money. And I think that's real important that you shared that story so people can realize maybe you do not have funds right now. Maybe you are just really being able to pay your bills and feed your family. There's so many other ways you can give back, and just any way that you can, every way counts.
Yeah, you could maybe your neighbor is sick next door. You could mow their lawn that week, or the lady that lives down the street that's retired and old and needs her front porch painted, or someone needs to take her to the grocery store so she can buy groceries, or you make her a roast and you take it down to her some night, or you tell the neighbors, I'll take care of your kids this weekend if you want to spend an extra day with your husband. There's a million things you can do, and it's so important. We always hear about random acts of kindness.
Yeah.
You can pay for the person behind you in the toll booth. You can put money in a parking meter that's marked expired. Just little things and you'd be surprised how good it makes you feel when you do that.
Absolutely. I know we're getting close to time, so I'm gonna throw out 3 things in your book that I want you to just give me a rapid fire answer on it. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
Embrace change.
Well, change is going to happen whether you like it or not. You can either resist it or embrace it. And if you embrace change, then what happens is you get to like surfing on a wave coming in. You get to take advantage of the change. And resisting change is like standing on a railroad track when a train's coming. You need to get off the track and support what's wanting to happen, whether it's your kids leaving home, or whether it's the change in the technology in the world, or whether it's the change in your job and you need to learn new skills.
Love it. Clean up your mess and your incompletes. Tell us about that, Jack.
Well, everyone has lots of things that are incomplete. It could be a relationship where you need to talk to your sister. Could be the junk drawer in your kitchen. Could be your garage. Could be the fact that you promised your kids you'd take them to Disneyland and you never did. Whatever's incomplete, make a list of all the promises you've made you haven't kept, all the things you promised you were going to do, like lose weight and buy some weights and lift them. Anything that's incomplete, what it does is it takes attention units out of your mind. All that clutter on your desk and in your living room, clean it up so that you have a clean space outside and inside your head as well. Then you're able to take new things on.
And you can take those new things on, being open for opportunities and changes, and like you said, be able to embrace everything that comes with it, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. Okay, I got to ask you about this one. 90% is a bitch, 100% is a breeze, Jack.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you like to be married to someone who's 99% committed to monogamy or 100%?
100, for sure.
100.
Yeah.
And the same thing too with all your commitments. If you commit 100% that I'm going to get up every day and exercise, then you don't have to have that argument with yourself every morning. Because if you're 99% committed, every day is like, is today the day or not?
Yeah.
And so if you I have a friend, he made a commitment, no ice cream except on the full moon, 1 day a month. And so, I was at his 75th birthday party, which was 5 days before the full moon, and we could not get him to eat ice cream. And so, it's just that, because he said, the moment I do that, I'm going to start backsliding. So make 100% commitment to do what you need to do to get where you want to go.
And, do what you need to do to get where you want to go, and that is so right, Jack. We've been talking to our audience. Ever since last year, our message has been, don't wait to be great. Do it now. So as we bring things to a close, can you share just a really heartfelt message? I'm going to give you the floor for, say, a minute and a half, and just talk directly to each and every one of our listeners about getting the job done and going for their greatness no matter what.
Well, here's the deal. Everyone is born with everything they need to do everything they want. You're not allowed to have a dream that you can't fulfill. You may need to learn new skills. You may have to go back to school. You may need to develop a team. You may need to ask a lot of people for support. But you have the capacity within you to achieve any dream that you have. Don't let your dream die inside you. You get this one life to live, and take it as far as you can and do as much as you can to be all you can be, not only for yourself but for everyone around you. I believe we have a responsibility to express that which we were born to do. Each of us is like a cell in a body. Every cell needs to work for humanity to work. We need accountants and cooks and street sweepers. We need people that can work on our cars, people that drill the oil out of the ground, etc. Everybody has a purpose. And when you do your purpose, the world works. So don't deprive the world of your gifts, whatever they might be. And I just encourage all of you to go for your dream, no matter what.
Thank you, Jack. That was so beautifully said. I want you to hold on for a second. We're going to close out, and then if you could just hold on for me when I get off, I need 2 minutes of your time, okay?
Okay.
All right, everyone. I just want to say this is Jack Canfield. The man is back, and his name is Jack, and he's got the answers. Yes, he does. It's all in his Success Principles book. Jack, as we close out, tell them where they can go get the book, or if you got any gift for them, whatever. We want to send them your way because this book is dynamite. It changed my life. And real quickly, before you tell them that, I want them to know that Anthony Robbins, yes, the Anthony Robbins says, Canfield's principles are simple, but the results you'll achieve will be extraordinary, and I can attest to that. Harvey McKay said, if you could only read one book, this is what Harvey said now, if you could only read one book this year, you have to have this book in your hands. And then one more I want to say, because this is a real good one, and I had a chance to interview Pat, and he said, when Jack Canfield writes, I listen. This is Jack's finest piece of writing and will impact your life forever. I can go on and on. That's just some of them. And Raven Blair Davis, rewind, Raven Blair Glover, Raven, the talk show maven, says Jack Canfield's book is all that, a bag of chips and some M&Ms on the side, sprinkled with some amazing success principles that will rock your world. Show you right.
Well, that's great. If people want to get the book, they can go to the usual place, Amazon.com. Go to my website, jackcanfield.com. If you go to the successprinciples.com and order the book through that website, you can go to Amazon through that website. Not only will you get the book, you'll get the first 2 chapters downloaded that day. You don't need to wait for it to come. You'll get an hour-and-a-half video that you can download for free of me talking about success. You get an hour of me answering questions on an audio, all the questions that people ask about it. A downloadable poster you can print out and put on your refrigerator. It gives you the daily disciplines of success, and also what we call the 10-week challenge, 10-week success challenge. You get a free email that will contain a 3-minute video every day for 10 days with a homework assignment for that day. And I can tell you, people's lives have been transformed just by that 10-day challenge. It's really quite phenomenal. So jackcanfield.com or the successprinciplesbook.com.
There you have it. That's Jack Canfield. Run, don't walk. Go over there now. Give me that website one more time, Jack.
The successprinciplesbook.com. That's where you get all the free stuff. Or you can go to jackcanfield.com and learn about all our seminars and our other programs.
All right, everyone. This is Raven, the talk show maven, here with Jack Canfield. And as you can see, he is totally bad. He's got the answers, and they're all in his book. Success Principles. Get them, apply them. I'm telling you, it will change your life. It certainly changed mine. You're tuned into Amazing Women of Power, World's leading positive programming network.
Hi, I'm Jack Canfield, and I've appeared on more than 1,000 radio interview shows in the past 25 years. And my time with Raven Blair Glover on her show, Don't Wait to Be Great, was one of the most enjoyable ever. She is a rare combination of dynamic, spontaneous, and fun, as well as thoroughly prepared, deeply insightful, and a great listener who responds with great follow-up questions, as well as her own experiences in a way that moves the conversation forward without stealing the focus. And it's one of the best radio interviews on the planet. And I would highly recommend being on her show to anyone who's serious about getting your message out to more people and enjoying the process at the same time. And she has become so successful at this interviewing process that she's now teaching other people how to have their own interview shows. So if you're thinking about having a radio interview show on the internet or on broadcast, whatever it is, and if you want to be successful, make sure to check out Raven Blair Glover, because she can help you get from where you are now to where you want to go with your radio career.
Three, two, one. Live from Los Angeles, the entertainment capital of the world, it's the Talk Show Maven Show, starring Raven Blair Glover. Tonight's guests, actress Kim Coles, best-selling author Lisa Nichols, and comedian Sinbad. And now, we invite you to sit back, relax, kick your shoes off, grab your favorite drink, and get ready to have some all-around fun. Ladies and gentlemen, here's